Ever notice how classic Hollywood stuck older folks in rocking chairs unless they needed someone with real backbone to steal the show? Forget the tired cliches. Some of cinema's toughest minds, fiercest rebels, and sharpest wits came with gray hair and a lifetime's attitude. So, which silver screen seniors had more guts than a room full of leading men? Let's count down the top 10 strong-willed elderly characters who proved that age isn't a weakness, it's a secret weapon. Ready? Some of these legends broke every rule. Jode, The Grapes of Wrath, 1940. Let's get one thing straight. If you survived the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression, and a cross-country trek with your whole family in tow, you'd earn your stripes as a legend too. Jode isn't just the glue holding her family together. She's the steel that keeps them moving when everything else falls apart. Jane Darwell won an Oscar for this role, and honestly, it's easy to see why. Ma's got grit in her bones, hope in her eyes, and a tongue sharp enough to cut through any banker, deputy, or preacher dumb enough to stand in her way. From the film's first frame, Ma is the one steady force as her family faces eviction, hunger, and heartbreak. She doesn't waste a breath on self-pity. When Pa starts to crack, Ma quietly takes the reins, making the impossible decision to keep everyone moving west to California. She packs, bargains, and improvises, always shielding her family from the worst, even as her heart's breaking for the children she can't save. She's the family's chief negotiator, nurse, and, when push comes to shove, the final word on who stays and who goes. But Ma's strength isn't just about survival. It's about dignity. In a world trying to grind her down, she stands taller. There's a reason her speech about how "we keep on going" became iconic. It's not just a line, it's a battle cry for everyone who ever felt like the world wanted to shove them aside. When everyone else wants to give up, Ma Jode stares down fate and says, "Not today." By the end, you don't just root for her. You want her leading your own family across any storm. Strong-willed, she practically defines the term. Aunt Abby and Aunt Martha Brewster. Arsenic and Old Lace, 1944. Who says sweet old ladies can't be the toughest cookies in the jar? Aunt Abby and Aunt Martha Brewster look like the type to offer you tea and cookies until you realize they're serving arsenic-laced elderberry wine to lonely old men, all while keeping their lace doilies spotless. Josephine Hull and Jean Adair deliver performances that are equal parts sugar and steel. On the surface, these sisters are the embodiment of genteel Brooklyn hospitality, but under that polite veneer lies a willpower that steamrolls every cop, corpse, and nosy nephew who crosses their threshold. These aren't your garden variety spinsters waiting for someone else to fix things. The Brewster sisters run their home, their charitable project, and even their wildly unstable family with an iron grip wrapped in a velvet glove. Mortimer, their frantic nephew, might spend the movie trying to cover up their crimes, but the aunts never lose their cool. Cops, criminals, and even the psychotic Jonathan Brewster are all quietly, hilariously managed by Abby and Martha's mix of charm, guile, and just enough menace to make you think twice about declining their wine. The kicker? They genuinely believe they're helping people, sending lonely souls to a better place with a smile and a prayer. In another universe, they'd be running the town, not just the kitchen. Strong-willed, try unstoppable. Every time Mortimer thinks he's got the upper hand, his aunts quietly, sweetly remind him who's really in charge. By the time the credits roll, it's clear. Never underestimate the little old ladies next door, especially if they offer you something to drink. Granny Violet Venable. Suddenly, last summer, 1959. If there's a single grandmother you wouldn't dare cross in classic film, it's Violet Venable, a woman so formidable, even Katharine Hepburn had to bring her A-game to keep up. In Suddenly Last Summer, Violet isn't the sweet matriarch baking cookies in the background. She's the kind of matriarch who runs her southern dynasty with a velvet-gloved fist, and if you get in her way, she'll run you right over. Picture a woman who could order your entire future from her garden chair and make you say thank you for the privilege. From her very first entrance, Violet owns every room she enters, sweeping in with all the regal authority of royalty. She's mourning the loss of her beloved son, Sebastian. But don't mistake grief for weakness. She's determined to keep her version of his legacy and her family's secrets intact, no matter what. When her niece Catherine starts threatening the carefully constructed facade, Violet doesn't just push back. She orchestrates an all-out psychological siege. She leverages her wealth, her connections, and her icy southern charm to manipulate doctors, threaten institutions, and bend everyone around her to her will. But what makes Violet Venable so fascinating isn't just her power, it's her conviction. She truly believes that she's the only one fit to protect her son's memory, even if it means rewriting history or sending her own kin to the asylum. She's not the villain you boo from the cheap seats. She's the puppet master who makes you question whose side you're really on. Hepburn's performance turns Violet into a gothic icon, fragile in body, perhaps, but unbreakable in spirit. By the end, Violet's strong will is both her weapon and her undoing. She's the architect of her family's downfall, but also its last defender, a woman whose love, pride, and sheer stubbornness leave you unsettled and awestruck. In a world that expects elderly women to fade politely into the scenery, Violet Venable is a hurricane in a silk hat. Strong-willed, she's a force of nature you won't soon forget. Grandpa Vanderhoff. You Can't Take It With You. 1938. Meet Grandpa Vanderhoff, the kind of patriarch Hollywood rarely makes anymore. Lionel Barrymore's grandpa isn't just the oddball at the family picnic. He's the whole reason the family is a picnic in the first place. In a world obsessed with money, power, and appearances, Vanderhoff is the stubborn heartbeat that keeps everyone grounded in what actually matters. Love, laughter, and the courage to be yourself, no matter what the neighbors think. From the start, Vanderhoff's strong will is impossible to miss. When bankers and tycoons try to buy him out of his cherished old home, he just smiles and keeps on raising snakes in the living room, collecting friends, and teaching his grandkids to dance in the parlor. He's a rebel, sure, but his rebellion is gentle, infectious, and entirely his own. While everyone else is bowing to the pressures of the Great Depression, Vanderhoff is busy spreading joy, charity, and the kind of wisdom that never shows up on a balance sheet. But don't mistake his easygoing style for passivity. Vanderhoff stands up to corporate bullies, government bureaucrats, and even his own family when they get a little too high on themselves. He's the living, breathing counterargument to everything the world tries to sell you about success. His greatest act of strength isn't in fighting or scheming, but in refusing to let cynicism take root. He insists that life is about chasing what makes you happy, not just what pays the bills. Barrymore infuses the character with a twinkle and a stubbornness that feel utterly timeless. By the final act, Grandpa's strong-willed optimism hasn't just saved his family, it's reminded everyone, from stuffy bankers to restless grandkids, that living well is the only real protest that matters. Strong-willed? Absolutely. Grandpa Vanderhoff isn't just a classic character, he's the grandfather everyone wishes they had. Wise, defiant, and impossible to ignore. Mother Superior, Sister Benedict. The Bells of St. Mary's, 1945. You think nuns are all meek and mild? Think again. Mother Superior, Sister Benedict, brought to life by the luminous Ingrid Bergman, proves you can wear a habit and still be the toughest soul in the room. At St. Mary's, she's not just leading the charge to save a crumbling parochial school. She's quietly sparring with Bing Crosby's laid-back Father O'Malley, standing up to stuffy bureaucrats, and inspiring a ragtag bunch of students with more street smarts than good manners. And she does it all with a serenity that could calm a tornado. From her very first scene, Sister Benedict is a gentle storm. She might greet you with a warm smile, but don't mistake kindness for weakness. When the school is threatened with closure and the odds stack up, she's already 3 moves ahead, working angles, leveraging the community's goodwill, and rallying her nuns like a general marshalling troops. She believes deeply in her mission and her students, refusing to back down even when the archdiocese starts counting pennies and demanding answers. But the real strength of Mother Superior is her compassion under pressure. She faces illness and the possibility of exile with a courage that stuns even her adversaries. When Father O'Malley, with all his charm, tries to soften the blows life throws at her, Sister Benedict listens, and then doubles down, proving that faith and determination aren't just for the young. Bergman infuses her with a grace that never edges into saintliness. Instead, we get a leader who aches, struggles, and doubts, but never loses her backbone. In the end, it's Sister Benedict's quiet, persistent will that wins hearts and saves the day. She leads not with fire and brimstone, but with resilience, humor, and a refusal to let anyone, be it priest, principal, or penny pincher, undermine her vision for St. Mary's. Strong-willed, she's the definition. Next time someone says nuns just pray all day, tell them to watch Sister Benedict in action. She'll school you on what real strength looks like. Mrs. Danvers Rebecca, 1940. Think housekeepers are just background noise in the grand halls of classic cinema? Think again. Enter Mrs. Danvers, the ice-cold mistress of Manderley in Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca, who manages to outsteal, outwit, and outright terrify every character on screen, young and old alike. Played with hypnotic chill by Judith Anderson. Mrs. Danvers isn't just strong-willed, she's unbreakable, an immovable presence whose loyalty, cunning, and emotional power warp the story's world around her. From the first time the timid new Mrs. De Winter sets foot in Manderley, Mrs. Danvers is there, silent, imposing, her stare sharp enough to freeze the Cornwall coast. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Her will is a constant, like the granite cliffs outside the mansion. Every gesture, every clipped word, is a reminder that Manderley doesn't really belong to its master, or to the new lady of the house, but to the memory of Rebecca, the first Mrs. De Winter, whom Danvers served with fanatical devotion. What makes Mrs. Danvers unforgettable isn't just her manipulation or her cruelty, it's her utter control. She engineers psychological warfare with the precision of a military strategist, gaslighting and undermining the new bride until reality itself feels unstable. The legendary dress scene where Danvers persuades Mrs. De Winter to wear a replica of Rebecca's gown is Hitchcock's suspense at its best, with Danvers pulling every string. And yet, beneath her calculated malice lies a pain so deep and loyalty so fierce that it's almost tragic. There are no big speeches or physical confrontations here, just a woman so sure of her place, so deeply rooted in her memories, that even the most powerful men in the story tread carefully around her. By the film's haunting finale, it's Mrs. Danvers who holds the match, literally and figuratively, over everything her world stands for. Strong-willed? She redefines it, haunting Manderley and moviegoers alike long after the final shot. Never underestimate the quiet ones. In classic Hollywood, nobody commanded a room or destroyed one, quite like Mrs. Danvers. Mrs. Lucy Ma Barker, Ma Barker's Killer, Brood 1960. If Hollywood taught us anything, it's this. Never underestimate a mother, especially one with a criminal empire. Enter Mrs. Lucy Ma Barker, the iron-fisted matriarch of America's most notorious outlaw family. Played with steely charm by Lorene Tuttle, this version of Ma Barker isn't the sweet, apron-wearing granny you might expect. She's a one-woman crime wave, masterminding bank robberies, kidnappings, and more from her kitchen table. While the real-life Barker is shrouded in myth, on-screen she's a force of nature, cunning, ruthless, and shockingly charismatic. From the opening scene, Ma Barker sets the tone for her brood. She's not just the brains behind the operation, she's the heart, soul, and loaded shotgun. Her sons might pull the triggers, but it's Ma who pulls the strings, barking orders with a sharp tongue and zero patience for weakness. She schools her boys in the business of crime like it's home economics, blending family loyalty with a take-no-prisoners philosophy. When rival gangs, lawmen, or even her own children challenge her authority, she doesn't flinch, she doubles down, outsmarting and outlasting anyone foolish enough to step in her way. The brilliance of Tuttle's performance lies in making Ma Barker both monstrous and magnetic. She's loving, in her own twisted way, protecting her family even as she drives them deeper into chaos. Her willpower is relentless, whether she's plotting a getaway or facing down federal agents. There's a sense that the world itself could crumble, but Ma Barker would still be there, plotting her next move. The film walks a wild line between gritty crime drama and dark comedy, with Ma at its center, an anti-hero whose strength is as terrifying as it is admirable. By the time the law finally closes in, It's Ma's unbreakable spirit that makes the standoff legendary. Surrounded, outgunned, and facing certain doom, she refuses to surrender, going down with a fight that cements her legacy in the annals of cinematic tough mothers. Strong-willed, that's an understatement. Ma Barker's name became synonymous with ruthless resolve, and in classic Hollywood, she proved once and for all that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one holding the gun, it's the one who taught you how to use it. Miss Marple, murder, she said, 1961. Don't let the sensible shoes and knitting needles fool you. Miss Marple is a hurricane in a teacup, and nobody solves a murder with more ironclad resolve. Margaret Rutherford's iconic take on Agatha Christie's legendary sleuth is the definition of strong-willed, a sharp-eyed, sharp-witted, and completely unstoppable force for justice in a world that consistently underestimates little old ladies. If you think she's easy to fool, you're already 2 steps behind. From her very first scene, Miss Marple turns age and gender into her greatest weapons. When she witnesses a murder from a train window and nobody believes her, she doesn't fret. She takes matters into her own hands. Posing as a maid, prodding suspects with disarming questions, and uncovering secrets in the dustiest corners of stately homes, Marple pushes forward with a confidence that would put most detectives to shame. The local police might dismiss her as meddlesome, but she runs intellectual rings around them, all while keeping her cool and her manners perfectly intact. What sets Rutherford's Marple apart isn't just her intelligence, but her refusal to ever back down. She faces condescending gentry, hostile housekeepers, and even outright threats with nothing more than a knowing smile and a razor-sharp wit. There's no bravado, just a quiet certainty that the truth is on her side, and she's not leaving until the guilty party is caught. Her dogged pursuit and unflappable spirit turn the classic whodunit formula on its head. This isn't a case of the police solving the crime, but of the police scrambling to keep up. By the time the credits roll, Miss Marple has unraveled the mystery, exposed the murderer, and reminded everyone that underestimating a determined elderly woman is the biggest mistake you can make. Strong-willed? Absolutely. Miss Marple is the archetype for every tough-minded, never-say-die detective who followed, and Rutherford's performance guarantees she'll always have the last laugh and the last word. Mrs. Minver K. Minver. Mrs. Minver, 1942. Picture this: bombs falling from the sky, the world in chaos, and at the center of it all, Mrs. Minver. Greer Garson's legendary K. Minver isn't just the heart of her English village. She's the steady force that holds it together as the world unravels during World War II. While others crack under pressure or lose themselves in fear, Mrs. Minver stands tall, blending grace with grit in a way that's so powerful, it landed Garson an Oscar and cemented the character as a Hollywood symbol of wartime courage. What makes Mrs. Minver such a powerhouse isn't just her unwavering love for her family, it's the way she quietly takes command when crisis hits. From the moment German bombers darken the skies, she refuses to let panic win. Instead, she organizes the household, supports her husband and children, and even risks her life ferrying a wounded airman to safety. When tragedy strikes close to home, Mrs. Minver absorbs the blow and keeps moving forward, never letting her pain eclipse her resolve to protect and inspire those around her. But don't let the English manners fool you. When push comes to shove, Mrs. Minver goes toe-to-toe with Nazi soldiers, all while holding her family together, with nothing but quiet willpower and a comforting cup of tea. Her emotional strength reverberates beyond her own family. She becomes a rallying point for her entire village. In one unforgettable scene, she stands up in church, battered but unbowed, and her words become a battle cry for everyone listening. It's not bravado, but an unshakable belief that right will triumph, no matter the odds. The brilliance of Garson's performance is how she balances warmth with steel. Kay Minver isn't a warrior in the traditional sense, but her perseverance and composure in the face of terror make her every bit as heroic as any soldier. By the time the dust settles, you don't just admire Mrs. Minver, you wish you had her on your side in a crisis. Strong-willed, she's the spirit of resilience itself, proving once and for all that the mightiest hero in wartime might just be the one serving dinner and hope under fire. Grandma Sarah Longworth. The Spiral Staircase. 1946. Step into the shadowy halls of a Gothic mansion, where secrets are thick as the fog, and nobody is quite as helpless as they seem. At the center of the storm sits Grandma Sarah Longworth, played by the incomparable Ethel Barrymore, a matriarch so commanding, even murderers tremble at the sound of her name. Bedridden but never beaten, Grandma Longworth runs her household from a fortress of pillows, wielding her willpower like a blade in the dark. What makes Sarah Longworth unforgettable isn't just her sharp tongue or her refusal to be coddled. It's the iron resolve beneath her frail exterior. In a house plagued by fear, suspicion, and a growing body count, she doesn't waste time with hand-wringing. Instead, she cuts through family drama and deadly secrets with a clarity that leaves everyone else scrambling to keep up. The police might stumble, the suspects might scheme, but Grandma Longworth, eyes blazing with intelligence, knows exactly who's hiding what. Barrymore infuses every line with authority, making Grandma Longworth both the moral center and the steel backbone of the film. She shields the innocent, calls out the guilty, and refuses to let her disability define her, defying both age and circumstance with unyielding grit. When the danger creeps closer, she doesn't ask to be moved or protected. Instead, she demands the truth and insists the guilty face justice, all from her bedside throne. In a film defined by shadows and suspense, Grandma Sarah Longworth is a beacon, a reminder that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the frailest frame houses the fiercest fighter. By the time the credits roll, you realize the scariest thing in that house wasn't the killer. It was crossing Grandma Longworth. Strong-willed, she's the definition, turning vulnerability into victory and leaving an indelible mark on classic Hollywood suspense. If you thought age meant fading into the background, these classic film legends just proved otherwise. Hollywood's toughest minds, sharpest tongues, and fiercest hearts weren't the young upstarts. They were the seasoned pros rewriting every rule. So, which strong-willed senior would you want by your side in a crisis? Drop your favorites in the comments, hit subscribe for more legendary countdowns, and share this with someone who thinks old means over. Because in the movies and in life, some of the greatest heroes are just getting started.